Hello, this is Bernie Burns.
Hello, this is Matt Hullum.
Howdy, this is Gus Sorolla.
Mahoy hoy, this is Jeff Fink.
And we are commenting on RedVsBlue Season 2.
What you're looking at now is the opening credits for Season 2, which are pretty much the same as Season 1. We changed a few things, like Donut here coming up is now pink, whereas last season he was red.
Yeah, last season we didn't want to give away the fact that Donut ends up with pink armor about 3/4 of the way through the movie, so we left him as rookie red when he came in. Of course, in Season 2 we had to change that. But we wanted to stick with something a little similar from Season 1, have some kind of carryover from the first DVD to the second DVD. And since the
Just so people don't forget it's the same, related series. It's
aside,
not a brand new series. It's the same one as last year.
Aside from the exact same set and vehicle and characters.
Same characters, same location, same jokes, actually.
Same lazy guys. I said Matt has a beautiful new intro here that he shot. That's actually shot with
I think
Halo
Gus.
PC.
I think Gus took that shot. Is that right, Gus?
Yeah, Gus did. But thanks for giving me credit there, Matt.
You deserve it,
Bernie doesn't think I can do anything.
I think you can take credit for stuff. This episode right here is episode 20, and we did this very late in December, very early in January, when we were going to show Season 1 at the Lincoln Center on January 2nd. And we actually were so pressed for time because of doing the Season 1 DVD and everything else that we were cutting this episode while we were in New York in the hotel room. And we had to go out and buy a DVD burner in New York City probably, 8 hours before the event to burn it to DVD.
Yeah, and you would think that in New York City, the city that never sleeps, you'd be able to get a DVD burner pretty much anywhere you wanted. Walk into a pizza parlor or Mr. Softy or whatever, and there's a DVD burner. But apparently the only place in New York that has a DVD burner is New Jersey.
That city that never sleeps thing is a lie, a dead lie.
Didn't you see Dan Marino getting into a cab that day? We were walking down the street, Matt.
That's right. I did see Dan Marino, and he did have a DVD burner under his big fur coat. That was Joe Namath. Never mind. Sorry.
I was gonna say, when you think of New York City, you always think of Dan Marino.
That's right.
And here we introduce two new characters right off the bat. We have Doc and everybody's favorite character, Vic. And Doc actually sounds different.
Whose favorite character?
Everybody's favorite character, Vic.
Right.
He's very popular here around the studio. Vic had to be intentionally annoying so that you would remember him all the way from episode 20 through the entire season to episode 38. Therefore, I had to play Vic over the top to make sure that he stuck in your mind.
I'd like to point out that since we are recording this commentary after the season has been completed, Bernie could have come up with that theory at any time.
You did a hell of a job making him annoying, big guy.
Thank you very much. I channeled all my experiences with you guys at 3 in the morning. Now, Doc sounds a little different in this episode than he does in other episodes for two reasons. It was the first time that you had played him, and Matt played the voice of Doc.
That's right.
Matt also plays Sarge and O'Malley in Doc later. But we actually went through a couple different voices before we settled on just basically your
That's
voice.
right. First we did like an old coal miner kind of voice, but I think that ended up being too close to Sarge.
Yeah.
And then we did like a Cockney kind of thing.
French guy,
Australian, which were pretty much all the same accent, except the French one was slightly snootier.
They were labeled differently on the files.
That's right.
That was about it.
That's right.
But and then the other reason why he sounds a little different here than he does in other episodes is we made a conscious change going from season 1 to season 2, at least for the first few episodes, where we backed off of the voice filters that we use that make our voices sound like they're coming out of those helmet mics that the characters wear. And the reason we did that was we got so much email during season 1 where people were saying, "Oh, that was a great episode. I really loved it. By the way, I didn't understand anything any of the characters said. Can you please send me a script?" So we thought, well, let's back off of it a little bit. But, man, the hate mail sure flooded in when we made a change to it because everyone was like, they don't sound anything like they did in season 1. In fact, people accused us of replacing Joel, the guy who plays Caboose.
That's right. And we did replace Joel, but the voice filter's the same, actually, surprisingly. That was the difference there. Joel, sorry we didn't tell you about you being replaced yet, but you had to find out sometime, and the commentary was the best way we could think to do it.
Happy birthday, man.
Happy birthday.
It's okay. Same thing happened to Darth Vader.
That's right. Hayden Jolison.
And here in this shot with the graves in the background, that is the first time I think that we actually did an overlay effect in an episode. We tried to reserve those specifically for the PSAs, and I think that's the first one.
The first time or an overlay, unless you consider church being a ghost an overlay.
Yeah, that's more like just a simple editing trick. That's photoshopping those, and that's me doing that. You can actually tell the ones that Matt does and the ones that I do, because the ones that I do are completely lousy. I just blur them. That's what I do. I put anything in the background and just blur the hell out of it. But that shot, people always wanted to ask in Q&A sessions when we'd show at festivals and things. They'd always want to know who was Jewish, church or text. They never asked who was the Christian. It was who was the Jewish one. But I think everyone's religious preferences are their own personal business, so I prefer to keep it secret for now.
I'll go get the Spanish dictionary.
Wait, so no one here is hurt?
No, we're fine.
I had a lot of fun with Churches when he was possessing Lopez's body. The reason why we wanted to do that was because we swore we would never, ever do that church transparency where he's a ghost after we finished it in Season 1. We had to get him into a body as soon as we possibly could for Season 2. That's why we even painted him kind of off-screen. We painted him from the brown body to the blue body. But sure enough, we got him out of the body probably in, 4 episodes, and we were back to doing Ghost Church again.
Thanks for that.
Sorry about that. That always extends every shooting night by about 2 hours.
Ghost Church is a lot of fun to do because it's horrible. So, well, basically what happens when you do Ghost Church is you have to shoot Church in the shot, and then you get him out of the shot, you shoot the same thing again, which is the plate, just the background. Then you drop that down to 50%, and basically that's how he becomes transparent. Of course, what we would always do is shoot Church in the shot, forget that we need to shoot the background plate, go on to something else, and then at the end of the day, we've got White Church not transparent. We have to go back and do all the shots over again because there's no way you can go back and figure out exactly where you were before.
And it's really hard, too, because there's that idle animation where if you don't move the character, the cameraman, his gun will come up into the frame as he kind of fiddles with his gun and plays around. So if we ever did that, it would ruin the shot. The only way we can get around that is by moving the camera slightly. But on those church ghost shots, we can't do that because if we move the camera at all, we lose the plate and it looks all fuzzy and weird.
That's why we considered for Season 2 having it be entirely from one character's point of view, who was this strange character who never had any ammo and was always reloading his gun with blanks. But that idea didn't work out very well, so we had to drop it.
It's called the Voyeur Chronicles. Simmons?
Look at that. Simmons making his big introduction. I think this is what everyone was waiting for.
And Griff making a much bigger introduction.
Gus has been back here like twitching, waiting for himself to come on screen. And that right there, that ended what we showed on the first night at the Lincoln Center. Was the first 8 minutes, I think. And man, that was, I think about that when we did that, it was just like, I don't know how we got it done so fast, because it was just, sitting in a hotel room, your little hotel room desk, finishing up the editing. I remember Nico was sending us the music files. He's the guy that does all the music for us, and he was sending them down from Boston, and then he got on the plane right after he sent them and came down. I think he actually
we had absolutely no problems with internet access, as I remember, in our fancy New York hotel room.
We're cursed in a certain kind of way. I'm cursed because I can never get internet access in my hotel room, no matter how much they advertise it. Jeff is cursed because he cannot get on a plane on time. We don't know what it is. If he shows up at the airport, or if he even drives you to the airport to catch a plane, somehow it's his loser dust gets on you and your plane gets delayed. You got delayed in New York. You got delayed going to DreamCon. You got me delayed going to L.A.
I've actually been delayed on every flight I've ever taken, both ways, and it's not funny.
You're like a sad sack.
Yeah. It's a big problem for me. It's very depressing.
I still can't get over the loser dust comment. Is that like some kind of special dandruff or something?
Yeah, well, for hypnosis, yeah. Now these shots here, with all the action in the background and the shooting and all that, you'd think those would be a little more difficult because it's visually dynamic and all that, but really those are the easier shots. Now these overlays here that we're doing on Doc, those are the same ones we did in the credit. They're a little different, but shots like this, that actually takes advantage of what the engine is meant to do. Have explosions, have dynamic lighting effects and sound effects and Doppler effects and things like that. So these shots are actually much easier, for just having some kind of fun little background. The hard ones are the ones where you got to have a guy run in, turn his eye line to look at a certain character, deliver a line, and then run off in a specific direction.
I think everybody who controls characters when we're shooting video has their strengths and their weaknesses. Like, I can't match up eye lines to save my life, but I'm good at turning and figuring out my left from my right. Jeff, on the other
Why is
hand,
everybody looking at me?
Jeff, on the other hand, can't figure out his left from his right.
Jeff is probably the best head nodder you've ever seen. Not just in Halo, but in real life. He nods his head with a plum. But he just doesn't know his left from his right at all.
I didn't go to school much growing up. Didn't learn good. Not.
You were sick that day.
That and his cursive is just terrible.
I was sick for about 12 years. So.
With all the tattoos, my guess would be hepatitis C. Or the chicken pox.
Ow, my foot. The left foot?
Here's a joke here. Because I think we actually wrote this joke to make fun of you. Even though it's Caboose we gave it to, not being able to tell your left from your right. We have the little, make an L with your left hand, make a not L with your right hand.
This is going to be an hour and a half of making fun of my many weaknesses, isn't it? Airplanes,
Well, it is only an hour and a
left
half.
and right.
So.
We'll save the rest of your weaknesses for season 3.
Oh, I got one. Well, sometimes when I fall asleep at night, I think about my parents.
Another thing we changed from season 1 to season 2 was we dropped out some of the vulgarity. We toned it down a little bit because one of the things we thought about, especially when we started going out to festivals and those appearances and things like that, where we had a bunch of 12 and 13-year-old fans who were coming up, and even people who were writing us telling us, please, I'd like to watch it at work if it's possible. Can you tone down some of the fucktards?
Turns out, though, that the 12 and 13-year-old fans, all they care about is the word fucktard and cockbite, so.
Well, but then we went for a little bit. We went for the public videos that were just out on the internet. We went for kind of like a South Park thing. We were bleeping them and things like that. But it was just more fun to go back to the way it was.
Yeah, we ended up getting more email from the people who were requesting the vulgarity be put back in the episode, and their emails were a lot meaner than the people asking us to take it out.
They included vulgarity in their emails, the people wanting the vulgarity.
But they bleep it.
But they bleeped their own email. Yeah. They would send an email that said, hey, put the fucks back in, but they wouldn't spell out fuck. They would spell F*C ? Whatever,
They'd say, why did you bleep the F-bomb? It's like, why do you call it the F-bomb? I can tell you, this is my favorite piece of the Blood Gulch set is the tree.
The tropical island?
The tropical tree. I think we tried to use that every chance that we got. When there's that one piece of foliage, anywhere in the whole valley, you got to use it.
He's not here anymore. Yeah, he left. He was all like, sayonara, and then he just took off. That's not Spanish, you idiot. That's French. Let's try this. Hey, Red! How about a medic?
And the echo that we put on their voices here, this is kind of a throwback to the first PSA, and it's kind of funny to talk about even how different the series is now from what we thought it was going to be. Because in the first episode, with Church and Tucker up on the sniper hill there, and in the first PSA, when you don't see Church, you just hear him yelling with that echo. Originally, the intention was for the series to be all about the red team, and Church and Tucker would just be up on that hill commenting all the time, kind of like the Muppets, the old guys in the Muppet Show.
Yeah, those guys.
That shot right there was a Halo PC shot.
We normally stick with using the Xbox whenever possible, but we throw the PC in every now and then for those close-ups.
What do we get? You're surrendering. You don't get anything except humiliation and ridicule.
What a wonderful line for Simmons there.
What else do you have?
You look at that shot too. It's amazing. You look at Sarge on the right and Simmons on the left. It's easy to tell they're two different colors. But then you'll get in some other places on the map, like red base, and it's impossible to tell.
Where they're shot the most often, and you can't tell if they're on top of the base. You cannot tell the difference between the two of them. They're both the same character. They look exactly the same.
Well, I'll come back to it, but it's actually the reason Simmons is red and he's the gunner. He's maroon, I should say, is to kind of mask the fact that he's closest to red as he can possibly be and still be a little different, so that we can put him in some of the shots with the Warthog.
Another concern with the colors we had this year, at least I was worried about, was the scene much later in the season where Doc and Donut end up in the cave together. Donut is kind of inadvertently spying on Doc, and Doc is actually at that point two characters. He's Doc and O'Malley. So it's actually three characters, and they all have very similar color. They're pink and purple, but in the dark shading of the cave, it's kind of hard to tell their color differences. So I was always worried in that scene that people were going to be confused about what color was which, who was which in that scene.
And there's also the episode when you made Tucker the wrong color.
You mean the episode in which Jeff made Tucker the wrong color?
I'd like to point out that I made Tucker the color that he's listed as on the website
I know.
by Bernie.
Tucker that Bernie listed.
But suddenly it's like I came in and you guys were working on the scene and I go, "Who's that?" And they go, "It's Tucker." I go, "Why is Tucker green?"
I thought we vowed never to bring that up so you wouldn't be embarrassed.
I like being embarrassed. I thrive on it. Well, it's coming up soon. We can point out when it happens.
It was right after we made the St. Patrick's Day PSA because we had changed him to green, if I remember right.
It was also during a very tumultuous and nervous time for us because we had our first big interview at that time, which was the Wall Street Journal guy.
Oh yeah.
Was here when we made that episode.
I think that was your first big interview.
I still haven't had a big interview. I always get relegated to the back.
That guy was pretty interesting. He was quiet as a mouse. He came in. There was a Wall Street Journal article on us, and the guy Kevin Delaney, who was a really cool guy. He'd worked in France for a couple of years, and he came and spent some time with us in the middle of nowhere in Buda, Texas, where I live. And we went out and ate at this place called the Salt Lake Barbecue. And he was real quiet, just out there observing everything. He must have taken, am I exaggerating, like 20 pages of notes?
I thought you were going to say 20 pounds of barbecue. That guy could eat. He didn't stop. That's what made me nervous. I thought he was going to keep going.
It took $20 for my dresser, I think. But he was a really great guy, and he wrote a great article. That was very, very cool to see that. Of course. I know what you're going to say.
The article was accompanied with a phenomenal picture of you, Bernie. Right after you got done winning the hot dog eating contest.
It's like
Nathan's champ.
They do those. They do those little dotted pictures in the Wall Street Journal. What do you call that?
Pointillist
Yeah, like a pictograph.
Connect the dots. Yeah, dot matrix.
I think they used a spirograph for mine or something. I don't know what they did, but it looked like they added.
Used a fatometer.
They used they added about 10 years and about 20 pounds to me. And an extra chin, which I used to store nuts for winter.
So yeah, and they had some hot dogs in your neck area.
I've actually been eating nonstop, so that I'll be recognizable from that picture.
Looks like it's going well for you.
Thank you very much.
26 degrees, by the way. What? It's 26 degrees out here. That's freezing.
I've always liked that blue light, but that blue light has always played havoc with Ghost Church in the background. That blinking blue light. Here's the switch overlay.
Here's the big switch.
You can always kind of tell when something's overlaid, like right there. I think that's a frame grab we did from Halo PC and then put it in. And you can always tell if we frame or overlay a person because they don't have that breathing that the Master Chief characters automatically have. You know, that rocking kind of breathing thing that's going on.
Rocking?
There was Church rocking right there.
That switch turned out to be a pretty fun little prop. When we had a screening here in Austin for South by Southwest, we had a big, well, not big. We had plans, designs to make it big, but it actually turned out to be quite small costume contest. And anybody who came out to the costume contest would win some kind of prize. But we, of course, forgot to post it in time, so only like 3 people came out in costumes. But one guy who was the winner had a costume that was basically just a switch on his crotch.
And a blue shirt.
And a blue shirt. And a blue shirt.
And he stood up in front of the entire crowd and spread his legs.
Flipped his switch.
And would flip his switch for the crowd.
He dangled his dongle.
And it was pretty creepy. But he won. So, congratulations. And the funny thing was that was the night that we had the guys out who make that Halo armor. There's a Nightmare armor. And Sid came out, and they came and just wore a full suit of armor. They made a blue suit to match, I guess, Caboose. And they came out, and of course, everyone who showed up for the costume contest got completely freaked out because they thought that the guys from Nightmare Armor were in the costume contest.
Yeah, those 2 guys were running around like women. It was crazy. Not that women are crazy.
I think we just there on the screen we just saw the Warthog come online and have a voice. Weren't there plans originally to give it a very strange, annoying voice and its own personality?
Its own nickname, wasn't
Well, yeah, was it Boogie Buggy?
it? Old Hoggy?
Old Hoggy, that's right. And not that we haven't already given it a nickname with the Puma, but we wanted to originally give it a voice kind of like Sheila has, give it a personality. And we're gonna do a mock of the old Hanna-Barbera Bead buggy.
I think Sarge wanted to paint the Confederate flag on it at some point too. The General Lee thing.
Much to Gus's chagrin, I will add that I also played the voice of the Warthog with the Warthog Online.
Chalk another one up to Bernie. What is that now? Like 15 characters you played?
I like to think that I'm very talented. Thank you.
A series of whistling noises followed by some random clicks? No, I was just trying to be helpful. Yeah, well, you're failing. All I hear is that boy, telling us to kill.
Now, I knew Joel was going to have a lot of fun this season doing the O'Malley lines where he's playing two characters stuck inside of one body. Because Joel, out of all of us, is the only professional actor.
He's the only one that's really like two characters stuck in one body in real life.
Yeah. Fighting for control of the
Fighting
brain.
for control. Most of Joel's lines were recorded in my bedroom closet in L.A., which was a fantastic way to record because we ended up covered in coats and cat hair.
The weird thing is most of his lines were, Matt, let me out.
That's
Get this ball gag out of my mouth. Which we tried to make fit somehow, but we just couldn't get it fit into the series. But Joel had a very depressing thing happen about halfway through the season, and that was Joel was working as a regular actor on the TV series Angel. Joel lives in L.A., and that was canceled. And even the internet, I guess, couldn't save Angel. Is it still alive at this point?
I don't think so.
So
I think most of the fans still blame Joel for it being canceled. He got too high and mighty with his whole O'Malley persona.
You remember for a while we had the vampire picture, one of his vampire pictures on the
That's right.
cast
For a
page?
while, his cast page picture was Joel in his full vampire makeup from the opening credits sequence of Angel, I believe season 3. Could have been season 2 though, so don't hold me to that.
Did Angel change their opening credits from season to season?
They did, in fact. Unlike some I know.
Like RedVsBlue. That's okay. Those
you-
fuckers were canceled.
You should have stuck with what worked, like we're doing.
So we hope Joel we hope Joel finds a job.
I really hope the internet never cancels us.
Yeah, I
Like the
hope.
terrible network got canceled.
You know, it is tough though meeting with the internet execs.
It is.
They're a nasty bunch.
They're
Bunch of nerds.
Okay, I see what's going on here. The red one goes close to the switch, and the green one goes.
What was it? Remember we talked all about that. There's a thing in Halo that people do when they play the game where it's called corpse humping, and they will when they kill somebody they run over the top of them and hump up and down by humping up and down, you know, doing the crouching.
Squatting.
Yeah, squatting. There you go. They do the crouching maneuver, and we thought, you know, that's in every single kind of gameplay video and everything else that we've seen out there. So we're not going to do any kind of corpse humping. But as soon as we got a chance to use the crouch, what do we do to use it? We make like a blowjob dick reference with it. So there goes our high and mighty attitude. Here's classic cliffhanger right here. This is like the old serials where no matter how close the machine gun gets, it's always can get a little closer.
Close enough. It never gets close enough. It's half-life of the
Yeah.
of the distance to Sarge's head there.
See the sparks there? This is stuff I really like doing is when we can find something, even after all this time that's in the game engine, like if we stand those guys close to whatever's being shot, the sparks will go across them and we can see it. And we cheat a lot of the stuff where Simmons and Griff there were actually right up against that wall for the shot, just so we could get those sparks coming across them. But the way we edit it together, you really can't tell. We're doing that all the time. We move characters out of position, things like that, just to set up a better shot.
I believe that's called movie magic.
That's called the magic of the process. See if you can catch the continuity error here with the bullet holes. See here, there's about 58 bullet holes on that shot, I think. There was, maybe 59. And then this next shot, there's a couple less, I think. There, yeah. the ever-disappearing bullet holes.
Who's a genius that directed that episode?
of Halo. It's one of those things. I actually once sent an episode out after we'd finished it, and I said, "There's something wrong with this episode. What could possibly be wrong with it?"
You sent it out to people in the group?
Yeah,
Check.
yeah. We sent out to people in the group, and sometimes the guys in the forum, they go URL hunting, and they'll find
it
they'll
ahead
find
of
our rough
time.
cuts. Yeah.
But in this case,
Yeah, I was sending it out to these guys. And I said, "There's something's wrong with this episode. What is it? I can't figure out what's wrong with it." And Gus looked at it.
No, that's not, for the record, that's not what you said. You said, look at this video. Do you see anything wrong with it? Is there anything wrong? You didn't say there's something wrong and find something.
Well, I sent it to you because I knew I had a feeling. And I said, "Is there anything wrong with this video? I'm not going to put the idea in your head. There's something wrong with it." And then
he
goes,
didn't know if you were asking artistically or technically.
Anyway, back to the
Thank
point
you,
of
Matt.
Gus being an idiot. I then said, okay, well, Gus didn't find anything wrong with it, but I still think something's wrong with it. Let me send it to Jeff. Jeff takes one look at it and says, "What'd you say?"
It's not letterbox.
It's not letterboxed. I worked on the video. I was about to publish it, and it wasn't letterboxed. It had all like the game information, had the gun at the bottom, and everything else.
Well, I mean, you're calling me an idiot. I mean, come on, it was so obvious. I figured it was still there for a reason. Maybe you hadn't gone through and added the bars in. I don't know.
I think you lose this argument, Gus.
I'm going to drop the subject because I'm a better person than that.
Which is, the important stuff.
Hey, Doc. Although I'm sure Sarge enjoys having his spine pulverized into dust, maybe you should go ahead and back up the warthog. Oh, right. Sorry. Oh, hot butter.
I'd say it's probably my greatest moment in film ever. Even though it's not in film, I get to kill myself in 2 different characters. Unfortunately, I don't actually end up dying as Sarge in
If,
this, but I really enjoyed the process of accidentally maiming myself.
With all of you who get like chopped up and their bodies replaced and possessed and all that stuff, how does Sarge manage to keep from getting killed as close as he's come so many times?
It's tough as nails, that Sarge.
Nails.
If you killed your own
Tougher
character,
than leather. He's Run DMC all the way. If I killed my own character,
if Doc killed Sarge, wouldn't the universe cease to be? Isn't that how that works?
something would implode for sure. I'm not sure if it would be the universe or just like some section of Minnesota or something, but for sure there'd be implosions.
When we were talking about cheating the characters around, you can see it in that last shot with Donut kind of hopping around a little bit in the background just so we can get a better angle on him, seeing him through the warthog. You cut away and you cut back, you can always assume the character, I guess, moved up into a better position. Like, hey, let me go over here. The lighting is much better.
Vain characters and blood gold.
There's our crouch. Let's not corpse hump. Let's have a corpse or a
have a
crouching blowjob.
Yeah. Affectionately titled that the cock crouch.
This is a good example of how we edited all the episodes into the one big movie, which is how we like to play it on the DVD, because when we go out to those festivals and things like that, we can't just show episode after episode.
We just now went over a break.
Yeah.
From, was it episode 25 to 26?
I think it was 25 to 29. But we can't. A lot of times at the end of the episodes when we put them online, we have these long where it says "Come visit RedVsBlue.com for more episodes." Especially Sarge does these long rambling things. And now Donut, Donut this season has been doing a bunch of them, and some of those are really funny. But a lot of that stuff we know we're not going to be able to include on
some of them, not all of them.
Well, no, they're all.
Which one did you not like?
They're all extremely
I did
funny.
the best I could.
They're all extremely funny. The ones with church I find to be very, very funny.
Yeah.
And the one where Vic was reciting Macbeth, that was good too. I like that. But
Was that in this series?
I'm pretty sure it's in my head that way. But when we edit this together in one big movie, we kind of have to lose some of that. But if there's one that we really like, which is what I was getting at, if there's one we really like, then what we'll do is we'll go back and film the audio for that one. We did it in season 1 for the whole chupa thingy discussion. And we did it in season 2 for the optional equipment on Church's new body.
Episode 37, Dealer Incentive.
We also did it for the
Donut,
Blood of My Enemies.
Blood of My Enemies, and we did it for Donut's long rambling discussion about he and Sarge having a good time hanging out together and being loners in high school.
Yeah.
But one thing we couldn't do on the Blood of My Enemies is actually go the whole way and do the whole thing, which was have Sarge sing the Pina Colada song.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, because that's licensed music, and if we've learned anything from internet filmmaking or just filmmaking in general, it's that licensed music is a pain in the ass.
It is. It really is a pain in the ass. And even if you want to get the license for the music to put it in there, it's almost impossible for like an average independent filmmaker to figure out how to license that music. I think we might have talked about this in the season 1 commentary because we had the Warthog song that we wanted to license,
Right,
and
the
you just
Tejano song.
Yeah, you just can't find the person. You can't get that person on the phone who owns the rights
Even
to
if
it.
they speak English.
And you get them on the telephono. And Caboose, of course, has to have the sniper rifle right away. Poor Tucker.
Poor Tucker, never gonna get a sniper rifle.
And poor Doc now, with his being stuck in the canyon. We didn't put it in the deleted scenes, but we had a bunch of deleted scenes when the big long gap where Doc disappears for about
That's
4
right. Well,
episodes.
that was something we kept trying to work in, where Doc was in the middle of the canyon and just periodically someone would drive by in the Warthog or in the tank or run by or whatever and see Doc over there, and he'd try to get their attention. And basically, they would just ignore him and say, "Hey, loser, drive on by."
They would ignore him by acknowledging him.
Washing technique on him.
Shut
Yes.
up, Jeff.
Yes, that's right, Jeff.
Okay.
Planning to have him do all their dirty plans. And also the schemes. Caboose, that is ridiculous.
In episode 38, we drew on a lot of jokes we used all throughout the season. And this is one of the jokes we used earlier that we used again with Tucker being in the sniper rifle shot as someone was talking to him. Here it's Caboose acting like an idiot, zooming all the way in on his visor.
From 5 feet away.
And then, yeah, from 5 feet away. And then in 38, we had Church zoom in on him. And, of course, he would be angry and the sniper rifle would be shaking all around.
I knew it.
So unlike Church, do you ever
We're
be
all gonna
angry?
die.
Strange scene.
Sorry, but we're kind of busy here. So go away. Or something. Normally I wouldn't impose. It's just that I don't know the neighborhood too well. Listen, Doc.
And I think by this point you had fully reached the Doc character, where he was nerdy
Just this
and
whiny, nerdy guy, yeah. Starting off, we had, we tried all those voices, didn't know who Doc was, so he was just me for a little bit. And then and I hope you weren't drawing inspiration from me when you were writing the character, writing him more and more nerdy and pathetic as time went along. That's certainly how he became.
see. There's the pan down reveal on Sarge and Donut there. I like that pan down we used on Doc a bunch of times. And remember we had the idea we were going to use that on Doc every time we went to him. We were going to pan down from the sky onto him. But when episode 20 started, when the season 2 started, the original plan was just to have Doc be a pacifist and establish that he's a pacifist, doesn't want to use any kind of aggression, and then get O'Malley in him and have the juxtaposition of the pacifist and the crazy evil spirit inside of him. So that was really the only goal, and then Matt fleshed it out from there. Is it fleshed it out or flushed it out? It's fleshed it out.
Fleshed it out, I think.
I think flushed it out in this case.
Both pretty disgusting.
Both.
Flesh.
You're not telling it right.
Okay, fine. How do you
These are always some of my favorite moments in Blood Gulch Chronicles. Whenever Simmons and Griff have their little banter, their married couple banter.
Blue Devils? Does their treachery know no bounds?
It wasn't a total loss, sir. I was able to steal his wallet.
Griff, I may just make a respectable soldier out of you yet.
Really, sir?
Hell no. Now leave the money on my nightstand and get back to work.
All right, Tucker, what the hell are we gonna do, man? I gotta get my legs working here. I don't know, but I can't just keep pulling wires.
Oh, here's the teal Tucker right here.
Maybe
That is the wrong color Tucker.
In retrospect, it looks so obvious.
it's a little obvious. I'm surprised that Matt didn't figure it out.
I like it. I think it's funny. And one of the things we always do when we do the DVD is keep things as they were, as close to what they were on the on the internet episodes. And we actually did that for the season 1 DVD. We put the left and right channel audio on there, but then that really came back to haunt us because it's amazing the amount of people in the world that have not just a mono setup at home, but just one channel, where they plug in the left channel and leave the right channel dangling.
See, what we were going for in this episode with Tucker being the slightly different color, almost imperceptibly different color, is that most people's video setups in their home have a limited range of colors. The RGB spectrum only goes, from 16 to 250 instead of 0 to 255. So this is really a test just to see what the home viewer could perceive on their system.
You really did base stock on Matt, didn't you?
Damn it!
16 to shut up.
Let's try this. I'll jump out of Lopez's body real quick. You two just watch him.
Here we come.
Here we go with
Church
Ghost
again.
Church. We couldn't resist Ghost Church.
All right. Here goes nothing. I have to hand it to you, Caboose. You finally came up with a good idea.
You could have made the reference that Tucker's a little greener because he's envious of Caboose having the sniper rifle.
But
That
I
could be
didn't want to
said.
say something so contrived, so
Yeah.
because my home theater testing situation was much less contrived.
Yeah,
than
that just rolled off the tongue.
in about 3 minutes worth of rolling.
Oh, hey, look, your legs work.
This one is mine.
Hey, Caboose, whoa, cut it out, man. You're gonna damage my body. Tucker,
Apparently that sniper rifle's pretty hard to handle because no one seems to be able to use it properly. Except for Caboose once.
We do get a lot of posts in the forum. Why don't they use the sniper rifle if they can see the other characters? If they can see the other characters, why don't they go ahead and shoot them with the sniper rifle? And I just don't think that would be any fun.
It'd make for a short series.
It'd make for a short series.
Yeah, it would have been over in the first episode, in the
That's
first
right.
2 seconds.
What most people don't realize is there's a terrible shortage of sniper rifle bullets in Blood Gulch.
I find amazing is how big that teleporter pad is.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it looks so small until you get the characters right up next to it. And one of the harder things that we do is we always forget about it, is when you get on a hill, it's almost impossible to get everybody lined up the right way. And, the hills are all over the place out in the middle of the canyon, So anytime we get out there,
We're used to the hill country.
all the characters are stacked up and all that. And it's even worse when you try to get a warthog out there and put it in a specific position at a specific angle. That thing just slides like a mother down the hills. I mean, it'll sit perfectly still while it's stopped, but as soon as you even tap it, it'll just start sliding down an embankment.
Think they'll be gone long? Me and Sarge had a great time together. We talked about all kinds of stuff. He showed me pictures of his mother. We talked about home decorating. Are you ever going to shake macrame ideas? We shared recipes for souffles. All right, hit it.
Now, we used the old shot there from season 1 where we did the old trick of putting 2 different colored guys in the warthog. But here is where we get the advantage out of Simmons being maroon, because from a distance, you can't really tell the difference between maroon and red. And like on that shot right there, Simmons, Gus, we shot that when you were actually standing in the back of the warthog.
Yeah, I had to run along with the Warthog while standing on it
Right.
while you were driving and then jump off.
And he dropped off like perfectly in the camera angle. Once again, 4 takes to get that right? And he dropped perfectly into frame there, which I never thought was going to happen. But he wasn't actually in the Warthog gunner position. He wasn't like a sign there using it. He was actually just standing on the Warthog, running on top of the Warthog as it drove by. Of course, it wasn't going full speed.
Yeah, which you can do for about, I guess, 10 feet in the game before you get knocked off and killed.
Yeah. Here's one that we had to cut because there was no way to get it to work. The transition from scene to scene. At the end of this scene here is when Caboose has his long dancing time ramble, which was one of Matt's favorites, I know.
Well, actually, it was one of Joel's favorites. I think he had more fun recording those dancing time lines than probably any other lines he did during the season. And yes, he was actually dancing.
On a different note, I'd like to thank both Matt and Bernie for the wonderful Lopez lines that I made to translate. What?
The old Spanish joke. I like that. This is the RoboCop reference that we made, and Matt did all these graphics here. And of course, he's stuck on Spanish setting there.
Did a great job with that, Matt.
So Caboose liked the dancing time lines. Joel did.
Joel did, yes, the actual person Joel. As opposed to his fictional character Caboose, he did enjoy the lines dancing time. There was running time, which was the setup joke earlier in the piece, and then dancing time to follow it. And I think later in the series we have nap time and food nap time and food time.
Right.
Stay tuned for season 3 to see what other times Caboose is able to come up with on wherever he ends up as Sarge.
Oh, he had running time.
Running time was a setup joke.
Nice and casual, moron.
All the Spanish, we have a scene that's dedicated to this. I think, is it an Easter egg or is it an outtake? It's an Easter egg, right? On the DVD. We have that shows how we do the Lopez Spanish lines, where for some reason we made the brainstorm to cast me as Lopez and not Gus.
By we, you mean the universal we meaning you.
You made
Yeah.
the decision.
Made the decision that all roads lead back to me. And I have Gus, who's my personal Spanish tutor, who will sit in there and phonetically read me the lines, and then I try to read them into the microphone.
I will say you've gotten a lot better. You finally lost that French accent you had in season 1.
Gracias.
The French accent for Lopez actually got to be employed at one point
Right.
when in our April Fool's episode, the episode 28.5, the last episode ever, when Lopez was mysteriously a Frenchman for no apparent reason.
Yeah. Quelle heure, c'est un vrai voyable. I think that was the line. And Nico was very upset because he always wanted to play a French character. That's the guy that does our music. And
Who is French? Who's
he-
actually French.
And he is French,
He not only plays a French character, he's a French character in real life.
which is why we don't like to let him do anything if possible. And then how'd you guys get the tank up there? I wasn't part of this setup. How'd you get the tank to rest?
Was it Jason that put the tank up there?
Yeah, I think it started out by accident. I think
Just
he hit
trying
the
to
rock.
move it around and hit the rock, and it kind of ended up going vertical, and so we just left it there. Thought it looked funny.
As a matter of fact, actually, I think it was so easy that we moved it, and then you had Jason do it again at a different angle, so it
That's
would
right, 'cause
look
we
better.
left out a couple shots and/or probably screwed up one of the church shots, which is what we usually do.
Okay, I'm gonna take that as a yes and let you get busy with
Ghost church.
You always have to be careful what you put Ghost Church in front of. Like
Right.
there against the tank, it was okay, but you know you can put him in front of like a base or like a rock or something.
Just an edge of something.
Edge of something, yeah. And then when you do the plate and then you go back and actually make the shot, you're like, oh, this looks like crap because it looks all garbled and he has all the stuff showing
You
through
can tell
him.
where his own lines, the lines of his armor, start and begin, end and begin.
And suddenly, there's a new guy on the blue team? Yes, Simmons, I am. Quite obviously, the blue team is constructing some
I like how it seems like Sarge just started losing his mind here when the Warthog gets blown up again.
Oh, Sarge went from like in season 1 he was like an Arlie Ermy kind of like classic Full Metal
Tough guy
Jacket.
Marine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sergeant. And now he's like a 50s almost like a mad scientist where he's like talks about diabolical death rays and
He's
plasma beams.
every 50s stereotype character, I think, melted down into one that you could find. He's the mad scientist character and a used car salesman. He's like a bitter, grumpy old dad character. What else did we throw in there?
And the Wolfman.
And the Wolfman. That's right. It's actually a DJ for a popular radio station.
And this is when we established the very odd choice of making Caboose fall in love with Sheila and starting the love triangle.
I think human nature made that choice, not us.
That's right. Or machine nature.
Yeah.
And Sheila is played by Mary Cruz, who is an actress out in Los Angeles as
Los
well.
Angeles, and ironically, or perhaps not ironically, perhaps coincidentally,
Fittingly.
she spends most of her acting time at car shows.
Yeah.
She models and, I don't know, appears at car shows. I'm not sure what the right term for that is.
She's like a hostess.
Hostess for car shows. That's it.
Spokesmodel. And these wonderful harp chords. Nico did that. I remember said, "Hey, I need harp chords that sound like a love theme." And he goes, "Got it." And that's what he came up with. Perfect. You know exactly.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about Nico. You can call him at 2 in the morning and say, I need 10 seconds of music, and you have it by 2:30.
And he'll say, "Let me smoke 14 packs of cigarettes. I'll get right on it."
He's always available, though. Obviously doesn't have a lot going on.
He's got a bunch of tunes now. He's got enough to basically fill a whole CD. And once we're gonna put out a CD pretty soon with the season 1 tunes and the season 2 tunes as well. So that should be pretty cool.
He put out a lot of great music this season, and a lot of it gets cut out and trimmed down and moved around. So it'll be interesting to see what all of that stuff, sounds like in its original intact format.
Yeah, it's tough because he's now in Boston, and a lot of times we're finishing these episodes up at like 3 in the morning, and so Nico's kind of flying blind sometimes, and we got to move stuff around like Matt said, or kind of chop it up. Unfortunately, sometimes. So it's nice when we can release like a full MP3 of the songs online.
I think in this series we've only heard maybe 3 of his complete songs: Blood Gulch Blues, Validia, and Steady Ride.
Girl named Tex.
Close, but we actually had to cut it out of the movie because that was one of the between episode things. There was no way that we could go back and film for just the song, because that was I think 45 seconds of black that we had at the end of that episode. I think 33, and we had just playing the song "Girl Named Tex." But what do we do for that? We can't go in and film a music video in the middle of the movie, unfortunately.
Whenever we can get the episodes done early, it gives Nico a chance, and it gives us a chance to put in as much sound work as we possibly can. And I think this 3 or 4 episode arc that we're looking at right now, from like episode 29 or 30 to episode 33, we did all at once and got them done pretty far ahead of time, if I remember correctly. And we had to kind of work stuff around. We moved stuff back and forth from episode to episode. We weren't really sure where things were going to fall in each one. And episode 32 ended up being a little bit shorter than our usual episodes when we did that. And we actually had some deleted scenes from episode 32 on the DVD.
Yeah. When we the catalyst for the first season, like the scene that kind of like was the seed that started everything, was the Warthog scene where they named the Warthog the Puma. And for this one, the seed was, we knew Caboose was going to be possessed by O'Malley, by the AI. And the seed was inside his head where he's talking to the red team inside his own mind, where Church is inside of Caboose's mind.
And how funny it would be to see all those red characters and the blue characters, everyone Caboose knows, but from Caboose's perspective.
Right. In fact, we even talked about doing a season 1 wrap-up where Caboose would explain to everybody what happens in season 1. We're going to put it online, but we actually got a chance to add that for the DVD. You know, the season 1 from Caboose's perspective, which is completely wrong.
That's right.
Robot or any other type of recruit with mechanical training or dexterity. Therefore, the only solution is to turn one of you into a robot and
The mad scientist continues.
Mad Scientist continues. There's also a point in the series where it's interesting because we have two storylines going on with each base. Each team has a pretty distinct storyline happening on their own. At some point here, they're going to merge.
Right. Which was really different. This arc of episodes was really different than anything else. I think, like you're saying, like 26 to 32. Because usually the way we would write it was, we would write it where there's like one of the armies is the lead for that episode, and then the other guys are just doing something kind of whatever. In some cases,
Just watching the other team.
yeah, watching the team, right, and commenting on what the other team is doing a lot of times. And there was this long arc where we'd go to blue and they were doing something, we'd go to red and they were doing something, and then by the time we get to like 33, blue split up into two teams. They're doing something, Trucker's doing something, red's doing something. You know, so it was
There's almost 3 storylines
Yeah.
going on. And actually, we also cut out some stuff with Doc
right.
during this time that would have been a 4th storyline. But we thought that would have just been too confusing. So that also ended up just being a deleted scene on the DVD.
Then there was the 5th story, but that was pornographic, so we had to get rid of it. This is shot from cinematics from the Halo single-player campaign, and we only used this here and in the Pelican Run, the bombing run scene from season 1, where Sarge comes back in and does the bombing run on the tank. We used the Pelican from that.
We also used a shot of Halo at the beginning of episode 20, right?
That's a good point.
Right. What? How the hell am I going to do that? I don't know. Come up with a plan. Come on. You know how I feel about plans. You're not going to have much time once we get in there.
Oh, and here's Tex. Tex has somehow made it back into the series now.
That's right.
And that's Tex is played by Kathleen Zulch
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
out in Los Angeles as well.
That's right. Another person who likes to record her lines in my bedroom closet.
Matt's really proud of that.
A lot going on
How
in
many
that bedroom
people
closet.
can
A
it
lot
get?
going on in that bedroom closet, man.
It's like that 50s reference. Matt's becoming Sarge. He wants to cram like a phone booth. He wants to, he wants to get as many people stuck in his closet as he can.
Are you gonna go sit on top of a flagpole or do something equally crazy?
Would you like to swallow a goldfish?
Laugh now, guys, but you haven't seen my closet. It's fantastic.
It's happening. Matt's closet in LA actually has a bouncer now.
That's right.
You got a velvet rope
And
out
a,
front.
right, a velvet rope.
It has no sign. You just have to know where it is. It's in an alley somewhere.
The Reds to shut off their radio.
Where should we start, Tex?
What? I said, where should we start, Tex?
Just keep your eyes peeled. I guarantee O'Malley will come looking for
Hey,
us.
Tucker, is that you? No. What, are you stupid? Oh, wait. Yes, I am me.
But leading up to this point, actually, now that I think about it, leading up to this point in the series, we'd been getting a lot of questions from viewers asking if Tex was ever going to come back. And I think, if I remember right, someone pointed out that Tex's first appearance in season 1 was episode 10. Then she also appears
In the 10th episode
of season 2,
yeah.
which was an eerie coincidence. I don't think we did that intentionally.
Now that's how smart we are. We plan stuff out that far ahead.
That's right.
This is also one of the most enjoyable things for us to do, which was to get the film work at another level. We did it in episode 10 when we went to Sidewinder for Church's flashback, but it was nice change of pace to go into Hang 'em High and into Caboose's mind, where we got to have a lot of fun with Caboose's interpretations of the different characters, like Sarge having a pirate accent
yeah.
and Griff being yellow as opposed to orange, which was actually done just to respond to all of the fan mail we get from people telling us that no, Griff is not orange, he is in fact yellow,
Yeah, we had to prove it.
and we had to prove it to him. And I hope you all feel stupid.
That is orange.
Corny dogs. Even with Lopez helping us, it'll take them months to
Yeah, this is There was a deleted scene here, wasn't there? A Simmons line.
There was a deleted scene. There are two deleted scenes that both kind of revolve around Simmons in episodes, I think 31 and 32.
I think so. I remember Simmons was supposed to be drunk for some of those line readings.
Yeah, and you actually...
Yeah, I could not make a drunk voice, so I had to bust into Bernie's liquor cabinet, steal a bunch of whiskey, and started drinking here in the studio. And
you did a great job being intoxicated, if I recall.
Thank you.
People can judge for themselves.
That's the amount of dedication we have.
Who's mentioned this is Hang 'em High?
This really is a cool location. One of our favorite things about shooting in here is just those crazy pylons that you see everywhere that kind of, for us, were representing Caboose's neurons or synapses or the kind of brain functions going on in his head.
Like memory banks.
Memory banks, yeah. And there's all those cool long planks everywhere. Made for a lot of interesting shots, interesting angles.
And it's a great level. I mean, that's the one I always play besides Blood Gulch. I play on Hang 'em High.
Some of Dan's best acting, I think, in this scene.
Yeah, I think this is where Donut really started picking up in season 2. Was starting around this time. He really took off, and I think Donut was probably my favorite character from season 2.
Even more than Simmons? And Vic?
Yeah, I'll say even more than Simmons. Dan did a great job this season.
Dan's one of the few actors who records his lines by himself.
Yep.
Almost everyone else records in one of two closets. The aforementioned wonderful closet in Los Angeles and the not so much talked about horrible closet here in Buda, Texas.
Since we are comparing closets, can I get some props for the closet here? Can I?
No.
You mean like coats? What kind of props?
Your closet's very nice, Bernie.
Thank you.
Actually, Bernie has outfitted his closet with actual acoustic foam. And it's very nice in there. It is 185 degrees. But other than that, it's very nice.
Here, I will take a picture of it for you. We're not going to put that on the DVD, but just so you know, I took a picture of it.
So if anybody wants a copy of that, email Bernie at RedVsBlue.com.
That's Bernie spelled GFUNK.
Not now, rookie. There's a giant tank out there that's about to steamroll right over us. What? Oh God, it's true! I'm totally freaking out! I'm freaking out!
Please, take evasive action.
You take evasive.
Now, that's a great idea. That's a great example of a shot that was really hard. The shot where Donut says, "I'm freaking out," then runs forward into the camera and screams, "I'm freaking out." That probably was more takes than anything else you did that episode.
Well, I'll take responsibility for that. That was probably my fault because I was the one controlling Donut, and I'm horrible at that.
Well, actually, this episode came together surprisingly easily, considering how much crazy stuff there was in it. One other thing that we didn't touch on earlier was when Tucker is in the tank and there's that shot of him from the side and he's rolling along.
Oh, yeah.
You can't actually get a shot like that in the game because you'd have to have the cameraman, who's a character, standing on the side of the tank. When the tank moves, he'd die.
Just like when we did the Simmons
Just like
thing.
we did the Simmons thing, and he was in the back of the Warthog. He's not really in the back of the Warthog. He's just kind of running along, standing next to it. So what we did was shoot a still of Tucker in the Jeep, and then we shot a separate background just moving, and we married the two, composited the two together.
They're getting along great. They're expecting a child next month.
Why the hell did they pair me up with you? I want to keep my eye on you.
Leonard. Everybody's favorite character, Leonard.
Who did the voice of Leonard?
Well, dude, even you got an extra voice in this episode, so
Yeah. I mean, everybody played their counterpart in Caboose's head, and Leonard was, of course, the counterpart of Church. And this was our response to the limiting the vulgarity in the earlier parts of the season. Was we brought it back in style with Leonard.
As much as possible.
I'd like to point out that Bernie's wife played the role of Donut in this episode and did a fantastic job.
Yes, she did.
She did a great job.
And she's extremely shy. It was tough to get her in there and have her do it. But we have to do something to pay her back because, I mean, she puts up with us being here at like 3 and 4 in the morning. You know.
Putting up with it right now, in fact.
As a matter of fact, she's putting up with it right now. It might be a good time to talk about the time frame. Like when we're recording this is we just released episode 38 yesterday, but we've had it done for about a week and a half. So we've been building the DVD for like the last 3 weeks as we've been finishing up the season.
Something like that.
Yeah, and so this should be the last thing that we're going to do for the DVD is record this commentary. Then we burn the DVD and we're off to the races.
And that is not a southern accent.
Your pirate accent was nice.
Thank you.
Actually, that was Matt's Australian accent from the doc auditions.
That was the Cockney. I just renamed the file. It said pirate on it.
Leonard, are you okay? Oh, please. That fudge finger.
See, the plan with Leonard originally, Matt really liked the character of Leonard, and he wanted.
I loved Leonard. I loved Leonard.
And
I'm not ashamed to say it.
we have a deleted scene where Church escapes from Caboose's head. It's on the DVD, and the way he escapes is he has to kill himself in Caboose's head, and if he dies, then he goes out to the real world. Well, Leonard died, so
died.
the theory was, then this is the reason why we deleted the scene was, if Leonard died, then he would have to come out as well. And Matt got crazy about that he would love
We
to have.
actually we wrote out the last 4 episodes. Originally, the series was going to end at episode 37.
Right.
And we wrote up the last 3 or 4 episodes with Leonard and how Leonard was foiling some of the Reds' plans and doing weird stuff and just generally annoying Church and hanging out with Caboose all the time. And everyone convinced me it was just a terrible, terrible idea, so we scrapped that.
Yeah, but it was, it was the reason why it was a terrible idea was because we had like Simmons changing bodies at the same time, Griff and all that
changing
stuff.
bodies, and we had so much body swapping and roboting and cyborging and mad scienting.
An imaginary person coming out into the real world, and then Caboose not remembering either one of them because they weren't in his head anymore. That would have been too much. But we did hold on to the thing where, because Church was killed in his head, then Caboose no longer had any memories of Church because they were all gone.
You held on to it for about 30 seconds.
Right. Well, I wanted to keep it going for a long time and have him re-meet Church slowly but surely, but
It would have been too
much.
complicated.
Yeah, too much.
Episode 38 is such a complicated episode with so many things going on, people talking to each other, and so many kind of subplots and random things that if Caboose had no idea who Church was throughout the entire episode, it would have been too convoluted.
I'm so embarrassed by my jump noise here. I sat.
It's not as bad as your running noise from
I was gonna say
season
I
1.
was gonna say the exact same thing.
I'm so. Dang on my flank records. We changed that for the DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Bernie's internet debut. It's singing.
Debut anywhere. It's singing.
Yeah.
Man, I wouldn't really call that singing either.
I don't think many people would.
It's like a speaking spell.
It's actually Bernie did not, to his credit, he did not, or to his defense, I'm not sure which, he did not record those lines to music. He recorded the lines, I think, and then we got the music together, and then we just kind of chopped up the lines to fit the music. Isn't that right?
That's right.
I will say, I think we received one email asking for the complete version of that song. So if it were a real song, you might have had someone steal it.
It might have had a hit music career like Menudo.
You could have been the next William Hung.
It's always fun to do scenes with Tex and Church. It's a relationship that kind of spans the whole series, but they're so rarely together. I mean, like even in season 1, when Tex was on screen, Church was off screen, and they were only together in that one little short scene right before Church gets killed.
Hey, turn on your radio, quick!
There on that last scene when Tucker was running to the edge, you could see all the bullet holes on the top of the base. Those are guides that we use to help move the characters around. In that case, there were a lot of them because I think we had to work out a ton of paths for Tucker to take.
I think, yeah, that's right. That one shot with Tucker was one of the hardest ones.
Yes, it was.
This is where we edited out Nico's song. It started right here, and then went for 45 minutes after the episode through it.
45 minutes.
45 seconds, sorry.
That was a long ass song, dude.
Song.
So
Hey, look, it's Vic.
we had to bring Vic back to remind people who Vic was, remind him that he was Blue Command and that he was in charge of Doc. I love that to make excuse every time I put Vic in. You know, Vic, you're the only guys who complain about Vic. I've never gotten any hate mail about Vic.
I'll forward them to you.
Yeah, maybe you should read the info box. Also, the return of Doc.
Oh, the glorious return of Doc, yes.
Yeah, all right, enough. I get you. Look, I found something really weird here at Blood Gulch Outpost Alpha.
And I think we're about to give a hint of the ghost, which is maybe the last
Yeah.
thing we hadn't used in the
A
Blood
lot
Bowl
of
shit.
The ghost, the rocket launcher.
a lot of
Yeah,
thought,
we
and a
had
lot
used
of
the
discussion about how much ghost to show and when.
It's purple. It's a big purple thing.
Use your words, dude.
Look, I don't know. It looks like some kind of alien artifact. Did the aliens have like a home base or something here?
I don't know, dude. Why don't I just consult my extraterrestrial travel guide for you?
Oh, look! They had a great series of alien bed and breakfast there. Lucky
Never
you.
mind. I'll just figure it out myself.
Nothing about big purple things, though.
Maybe it's some kind of alien vehicle.
Man, that guy's such a
But I think the only thing we haven't used now, which is one of the things that's really fun about it, is that we go through and we use all the objects slowly but surely over time. And it was real tempting to try to use them all at once, you know? But like even little things like the skull and the rocket launcher, we wanted to leave them alone.
Savor those.
Yeah. We still haven't used the rocket launcher at all. We haven't had it in a scene.
Right.
We faked it with the ghost later in episode 38. We haven't used the Covenant plasma rifle.
Yes, we have.
Oh, we have. We used it for Lopez's speech unit, right?
Yeah.
And we haven't used the Banshee from Halo PC, and we haven't used the power-ups at all.
no text. Is it unusual for
Although I think in one
Aye.
scene somewhere you can see the overshield somewhere in season 2.
Yeah, you can see it in the cave with Doc.
You
You can see it all over.
Yeah.
but I smell material for season 3.
What does it smell like?
He's standing next to Gus.
Wet
It
lumber.
smells like old tacos.
Don't try to move too much. You've been through quite the ordeal. Oh, man. Where am I? Hush now. Shh. He was really touch and go there for a while, good buddy.
Why is Sarge so much taller than Donut in that? Is he standing on the
Sarge is
flag?
Standing on the flag.
Yeah, he's standing on the flag post.
Nurse Donut here stayed by your
Also, he's just tall.
stroking your hand and keeping you
Now, that's an interesting question. Even though they're all the same size, what characters do you associate the height of the characters with the height of the people that play them?
No.
No, because I think Jeff always says that Griff is taller than Church.
Totally.
No.
I do think of, for some strange reason, I do think of Simmons as being tall and skinny. Which you are, Gus.
Yes, I can attest to that. And very attractive.
down to the flank. Yeah, we couldn't really find an anatomy book, but we did find one of those pictures with the cow and the dotted lines all over it. Over the porterhouse. I think it did the trick. And of course, the brisket.
Wait.
And the hock.
Wait, where did you get the replacement parts?
Why, from our other subject, of course. Subject my cyborg ass.
No way.
Yeah, I'm real happy about this myself, numbnuts. Yep, those two.
Did I get your lips?
Prairie oyster.
Because maybe then I'll finally figure out how to kick Sarge's ass.
And the ass.
This is the episode where you and I kind of became the same person, Gus, which a lot of people in real life complain about.
What do you mean?
Gus and I being too similar.
You two are too similar?
That's what they say.
Who says that?
Everybody.
Stupid people.
Stupid people. Happens all the time.
Nobody talks about you.
You're right, I made that up. They're all too busy talking about you and your 19 characters.
Did that shot you coming up the ramp there on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good shot, I think.
I like that one. I like the shot that's in the deleted scenes in Caboose's head. That long,
Oh, man, that's a great shot. Where you shot the running down
that plank.
long plank?
Yeah,
Yeah.
long plank.
Oh, come on, not this again. How can you
That's a hard shot right there with Church in between two characters as a ghost, because you have to mat him out. You can't just wipe him in or anything like that. You have to mat out, put a little clip in and make sure you crop out everybody else around him. It takes a little bit longer than the average one.
killed me with the tank? Hey, you insulted my
Pretty much everything we do that's, any kind of visual effect on the screen, we have to think about how to do it the fastest way we possibly can, because we do these episodes usually about one of them, an average episode will take about 40 hours
Yeah.
to produce, and we really can't spend any more time on it than that. Otherwise, we fall behind schedule. People on the internet start, getting mad that we haven't released an episode. We're taking too much time off and stuff like that. So when it comes to complicated stuff like Church, we got to figure out the easiest way we can do everything with him.
Here's a big trick that we discovered in Season 2 that we used a lot. And that is, in Season 1, when we wanted to have a different angle, what we would do is we would use the tank. And we would stand the cameraman on the turret of the tank like it was a crane. Well, we discovered it was a lot more flexible to just have other characters totem pole, like stand literally one on top of another. And you can stack them as high as you can get as many characters in the game. You can stack them 16 high if you want to. And that shot of Donut there, he was actually standing on top of two other Master Chiefs and jumping up and down.
One other Master Chief.
Was it one?
Yeah.
Okay. And then a person behind him, the cameraman, was standing on top of another character, crouched down, looking up to get that angle.
Which is different from traditional filmmaking, where you don't typically stand on someone's shoulders.
No, right. And very rarely does someone throw a grenade or decide randomly one of the actors to kill another actor as a joke. And then everyone else stands around laughing.
No, there's not a lot of laughing.
Now that teleporter in the background there, if you watch it, that will also loop. It's the texture itself.
There's a little pop when it changes over the loop.
Yeah.
I just did it.
We should have had like a cat getting stepped on noise there.
Something like that. It's a great improv coming up from Donut right here, from Dan, the ovaries line. Which originally I think was I need your bones, or do you have any bones left, or something like that. He changed it to ovaries.
Yes. Do you have any bones left?
That's the mind of Dan right there.
Little plot hole here. If the dance was canceled, Simmons would know since he's the social chairman.
That's right.
Come on. You guys are really stretched. You know, I was thinking when we left Blood Gulch, at the end of season 2, when we went on to the other maps, I was thinking about how we've never gone up into that like space behind Red Base up in there, with that kind of perch area back up in there, and we never used the other cave as well because it's so dark. Right? It's really hard to get up in there and have a scene that's something you want to look at for a long period of time because it's just so dark up there. We could shoot night scenes up there.
Day for night. We saved money. We shot day for night.
We've done some night scenes and we just put up black and that's it. And then Matt glues a pair of googly eyes on the screen.
At the end of every episode, we have a night scene.
That's right.
It just goes to black.
I'm talking about being lost in a forest of filth without a compass, swimming in a river of sick with no floaties on.
I like that out of all of Sarge's ramblings, this one we decided to shoot during the actual episodes. The most disgusting one he has.
I'm sure you could, but no.
Just one more. Oh, they're fun.
Man, Lopez and Sheila have been spending a lot of time.
We actually got a lot of additional things for Sarge to say from people on the internet, posting other gross analogies Sarge could have come up with. And I'd just like to say, please don't post any more of those if you were thinking about posting them.
She weighs like 200 tons, dude. She is a precious flower. Hey guys, I have to ask you a favor. This might sound strange, but I think Caboose is getting kind of jealous of your relationship. Anyway, could you just try to keep a lower profile?
Caboose is obsessed with pastries and any kind of.
Muffins.
I've been speaking with Lopez, and we feel that the machines have been treated unfairly.
And that's a shot there. You see the light was perfectly aligned with the gunner or the pilot position of the tank. That's because we have a character that you hopefully never see that we call Driver. And he's a brown character, the same color as Sheila. And whenever we want to have Sheila with her light on, we have to have somebody in the tank. So Driver gets out and gets in the tank, but we always have to mask the fact that he's in there.
I love that shot of Sarge popping up from below the camera line there for no apparent reason. Like maybe he was writing out football plays on the cement below him.
Sketching out in the dust. Yeah. See how Jason was around because there's a scorch mark in the background of that shot right there. Jason must have helped on that episode.
Helped.
Yeah, a big part of when we start every episode is we're going to go shoot the first scene, and it's, okay, we need Tucker, we need Blue Church, we need Tex, we need Lopez, we need Driver, and we'll hop in, and then the first thing we have to do is set up the canyon. In the Halo PC version, you can actually specify with a custom game what vehicles you want in and what vehicles you don't. You can set it up so there's only one tank and one Warthog. Well, if we want to put the Warthog and the tank in, we have to get a Warthog and a tank on both sides, and then we have to get all the ghosts as well, which is 4 of them. So we spend probably about a good 10 minutes, parking all the vehicles in the bases, getting all the characters lined up. If Doc's in the scene, we have to get everybody the pistols. which is a real pain because everybody starts off with those little plasma pistols, like Doc has.
And then once we get it all set up and perfect, Jason comes along and blows stuff up.
No. Somebody will say, "Oh, do you want blue church or white church?"
That was a dig at me, wasn't
Griff
it?
is yellow.
Or Tucker is green for some reason.
Come on, Agent Griff. We've got to hurry if we want to save the princess from the evil goblin.
This is the Double O Donut, which is spawned, I know, Matt's and I think Gus's favorite piece of fan art.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorite pieces. We normally update fan art once every couple months, but I think the day after or 2 days after this episode was released, someone made a wallpaper and emailed it to us. It was very James Bond inspired. It was Donut in a tuxedo holding a little pistol with those concentric rings in the background, and it said,
And he actually even had the flower on his lapel.
that's right, yeah.
And it was great. He had a jetpack on.
Yeah, and I think at the bottom it said,
Double O Donut or license to
thrill or be thrilled, and only one man can save the princess from the evil goblin. It was really funny.
Yeah. Hey Jeff, what's your favorite piece of fan art?
What's my favorite piece of fan art?
Yeah.
I don't know. What am I supposed to say?
Mine would be the naked girl who wrote Red vs. Blue on her boobs.
Yes, that's a clear winner.
Time. I think he's learned to fight it somehow. You know, I really think we should try a non-violent approach to resolve this. I agree. Except replace the word non with extremely. And after the word violent, include the phrase blood explosion extraordinaire. Hey, what's going on in there? We can't do this. They're gonna find out. They'll find out about us.
Here's where Donut learns the sinister plot.
This is where we have the pink character and the purple character together in the dark cave with the yellow walls.
It's that guy whose name I forget. But where's the guy he's talking to? Look, we can't just sabotage their equipment. That's rude. Sabotage?
That doesn't sound
That
so
doesn't sound too good.
There's one of our only in-game pop culture references, I think.
Yeah.
We try to stay away from that.
Yeah, we almost never used. In fact, in season 1, I don't think there were any pop culture references whatsoever.
In what?
In season 1, were there any pop culture references?
me
I don't
think
think
about
there
that,
were. In season 2, I know we've had at least 2, if not more. We had the shake and bake reference, which is not exactly pop culture,
Yeah.
but it is referential to something outside the Blood Gulch world.
Well, it
for
started
sure.
as 50s references again.
In
Yeah.
We're going to talk about references outside the Blood Gulch world. Donut comments that he's from Iowa in season 1.
That's true.
It's not really a
That's
pop
true.
Texas from
culture.
Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in,
It's
We
but
actually-
the products.
we
thing.
actually scratched a scene in season 1 where we talked about Avril Lavigne, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah, that was dumb reference
Yeah.
about the Warhog music.
Yeah, and also we talked about other blue ghosts, and I think we talked about Booberry and Star Wars.
Booberry. I don't remember
What the
Booberry.
hell are you talking
Was it like Church's favorite cereal or something? That Booberry? What was the Avril Lavigne line was?
In the future, everyone
Everyone listens to Avril Lavigne. Right, that's what Tucker says when he thinks he's come back in time to the teleporter. He tells Church that in the future everyone is listening to Avril Lavigne.
Which turned out to be true.
I can't imagine why we cut it. And of course, Tucker just naturally hates Donut because he considers himself the ladies' man, and he's been duped by Donut's pink armor.
Everything like what? Where we keep his tampons?
You're right about that, Simmons. The boy doesn't even see the entertainment value in being tortured.
This season we did a lot of PSAs. We did the holidays, and we didn't have time to do it, but we always wanted to do an Arbor Day PSA with this lousy tree that's located right outside of. There's one outside of Red Base, and there's one outside of Blue Base.
It's kind of like the red base tree is actually kind of nice, kind of scenic, and that blue base one is just kind of like a creepy Dr. Seuss tree.
it's like a Dr. Seuss tree gone wrong somehow.
It's like if the Lorax had been mad at trees instead of liking them, he'd poisoned all the trees himself.
It's like the leaves it's like the tree's like half dead, but like the leaves on the very end. It's like a tree with like a comb over.
Okay, your turn. Truth or dare? Truth. Okay.
Now, here's a little bit of trivia. Initially, the Caboose love triangle was going to be with Donut, where he thought Donut was a girl, and they were going to be across enemy lines after the flag scene. but we had to make Donut red. He had to keep him in his red armor, which is why we delayed making Donut pink until much, much later in season 1. And then after that time, it was all forgotten, and we just thought it'd be kind of a weird thing. So we made Caboose love a tank instead.
That's one of my favorite shots right there.
You like that one?
Of the season, I have to say, yeah.
Here we have the hardest episode we've ever done.
What is this?
This is still 37, isn't it?
Yeah. This is not 38 yet.
That's what I was talking about. 37 is the hardest episode we've ever done.
Because-
why don't you elaborate? I'd
Because
like
we were nervous about having to do 38.
Yeah, because we were scared of 38. Yeah. A lot of important stuff happened. in
There's Red
37.
Team's tree right there. I like the idea. I like the idea that they parked the warthog right next to the tree
shade.
For shade. They want to, it gets hot out in the Blood Gulch, and you want to keep it nice and
22
shady.
degrees Celsius at all times.
In exchange for not killing us, they would like to release the robot guy and me.
There was every time Church would possess somebody, there would be the discussion as to, do we have Church do the lines? Do we have the character being possessed try to talk like Church? Do we have Church try to talk like the character? And on this one with Donut, I was trying to do the Donut voice, and it just kept sounding like Vic, because I was trying to be
That's
the.
right. That's right. It just became high pitched and kind of squeaky.
Yeah, it was just like goofy Donut, the way he's been doing Donut this season, with the hush now, hush, hush, hush. It just started to sound like Vic after a little while, so we had to abandon it.
But we did keep some of Donut's, personality traits.
Right.
You like braiding the hair, and you get kind of like dumb. Don't really know what you're doing.
Right, the whole thing about not being able to figure out if who the pronouns are.
They want you to build 2 robots for their team. One for each prisoner that they're releasing. Hey, that wasn't part of the deal.
I think, Gus, your best lines are by far the ones where you just scream at the top of your lungs.
I was about to say that the lines that are easiest for me to deliver are any ones where I'm yelling, because Jeff really helped me learn how to deliver screaming lines. You want to explain that one, Jeff?
I used to have dogs, and Gus hates my dogs. And you were having trouble delivering a line one time. You couldn't get the yell down right, and I told you just to pretend like my dog was humping your leg, I think.
I can tell you what that was, too. That was the Rover. When he tells it to shut up and get down,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
touch the camera.
Yeah, that's
Shut up, get down! Get down, get down!
And ever since then, it's been smooth sailing. Thanks, Jeff.
That's what I'm here for.
Those dogs are dead now.
Yeah. No, they really are, though. That was
Hurry back before Lopez and Sheila's inspecting this thing. Make sure
dead
this guy
dogs.
doesn't run away when
You'll be okay, bud.
I'll meet you guys back at the base.
that possession is different than the other ones because we wanted Donut to do the Higa Kurgurk noise, and that was his version of
was
it.
such an interesting Higa Kurger that he really deserved his own visual to go along with it.
And so the way we edited that was we just did it just flashes a million times on and off instead of the partial dissolve of each one, which is what we normally do. This is a refilm.
This is a refilm. We this was actually, I think, maybe the longest in the black moment we've ever had in a Red vs. Blue release. I think it went for
lasted close to a minute, didn't it?
or maybe over a minute. It was a good long chunk of time. And it's something that originally we had planned to film, and then we laid it down. I actually think forgot to film it and just listened to it back, and it worked really well in the black, and we left it that way.
No, yeah, it worked really well.
Yeah, we want speed. Sorry, speed are optional. What's on the bottom of its legs? Legs are optional. Oh man, what a ripoff. Options are optional. What isn't optional?
We never really established in season 1 until Lopez, we revealed he was a robot, like in episode 17, that Sarge has any skills whatsoever. And I like the idea that Sarge can build a robot to fix the Warthog, but can't fix the Warthog himself.
Yeah.
In fact, he put a switch into the Warthog to make it remote control, but he can't somehow get the engine working.
It's because the Warthog's metric, and Sarge just doesn't like metric, so he builds a robot to deal with that.
In keeping with the 50s, he's a shade tree mechanic, and there's no shade trees anywhere in Blood Gulch, so he's powerless to help the vehicles.
And or surrender. 0600. What does that mean? Isn't that when we're supposed to be surrendering to the Reds? I mean 6 o'clock, right?
This was kind of like an ad lib, the 0600 thing.
Kind of means it was an ad lib.
Well, I mean, like no, like
this
an
is
outtake.
a line that was on paper was, I think, 4 words, and Bernie stretched it into 400 words.
And here with the robot sitting there was I remember a debate to freeze frame them so they'd be sitting perfectly still and wouldn't be breathing like that. But since they're already turned on, we just decided to let them sit there and breathe back and forth.
So exactly why does a robot have to breathe again?
Well, it's not breathing. That's part of the motion.
It's very windy.
Son, did you just shoot yourself in the foot? Yeah, I do that now sometimes. I'm not really sure why.
So now we're a couple minutes into the last episode, episode 38, which is I like to call the second hardest episode of the season.
It's not quite as hard as episode 37.
Right. It's damn near. Weighed in at about 13 and a half minutes, and took probably 7 days to make, which is a little long for us.
We trimmed it. We trimmed it pretty good. We went back and took at least 30 seconds, if not a minute, out of it after we were done.
Yeah, something like that.
I remember we did 35 hours of filming in 2 days, and that still wasn't. We still didn't finish it.
Yeah.
Just on the video alone.
Yeah, it was. This one was a long process, but I think it paid off. It's been really well received, and I think just among guys in the group is probably one of the favorite episodes.
Yeah,
of
it's
all
easily
time.
my favorite. I love robot number 2 there because he uses 2 of the old Mac system sounds, the Wild Deep and the Quack.
Right.
It's I just think it's so, I don't know, nerdy.
I don't want to give anything away, but let's just say, for instance, that one of the robots contains a hidden microphone that will allow us to
There's Crazy Sarge again with his 50s wartime strategies.
Crazy bomb making. And
robot contains a 10 megaton bomb.
Neutron bomb.
Yeah, you kind of did. I think this is what they
I think we're gonna reveal at some point that all of Sarge's devices are powered by static electricity too.
before food time. Then comes food nap time. That is my favorite.
You know, out of all the times, I'm glad that we filmed dancing time as an Easter egg and not food nap time or nap time.
yeah,
That might not have been as good.
it wouldn't have been as interesting.
Although food time might have been good.
You are now, forever will be my friend. Private donut?
That was actually a lot longer. Did Donut's take on that?
Donut's take was it was
Like
quite
almost a
long.
minute of
Yeah.
like a soliloquy about how much he likes Caboose.
This blue oasis in the middle of a desert of violence and madness.
Yeah.
Toast. Looks like they brought out the heavy artillery.
Here's where the shots start getting hard.
We had with Sarge. The Great Caesar's toast is like the last of like many like hot buttered lug nuts. We must have sat down trying to think of every possible way to change something up there. There were some of them that were just nuts. I remember one time we actually spent time trying to figure out how we could re-say Eureka.
I think we came up with urethra and,
Yeah.
and stopped.
Aretha.
There's a lot of chatter. Well, are you at least getting any useful information? Nah, just the same two guys bickering like an old married couple. I've only been listening for like 5 minutes and I can already tell they're really in love. Why can't they see it? All right.
There's actually more than one tandem over there in Red Team that you could figure would be the old married couple that Tucker's talking about there.
Yeah, and in that last shot, sometimes the people who are doing the background stuff tend to get a little creative. And there's that whole thing in the background while Tucker's talking where Caboose turns around and points his gun at Donut, and Donut backs out of the shot there.
Yeah.
And we had
It was
to
actually a shot we had to redo.
redo it, right? Because we had Donut in the wrong place for continuity. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, in this scene, there were very few shots we had to redo. There was that donut shot that we just mentioned. There was a shot later with Lopez going the wrong way. And there was another shot that we had to shoot again because Caboose wasn't firing his pistol and he was supposed to be. But other than that, we got all the screen direction and everything right the first time. It was just doing it again and again and again because we kept shooting different characters that we weren't supposed to be shooting, or something blew up that wasn't supposed to blow up, or it blew up on purpose but it killed everybody in the scene. We had to set up back over again to get the shot. It was a complicated episode.
In fact, in one of the scenes coming up, someone actually dies. You can, if you have sharp eyes, you can see it's in the background.
That's right, you can. It's. I actually think it's very funny. I'm glad we left it in.
Yeah, I mean, it's open interpretation. It's hard to see. If you play the game, you know
Yeah.
someone's dead back there.
If you don't play the game or you're just taking it for face value, it looks like he just dropped his gun.
Men outmaneuvered, men. Take cover. I'm calling in an airstrike.
And here's the real big plot twist.
Yeah, in season 1 we had plot twists that we would try to set up over the course of many episodes, but we just had people guessing in the forums, and we got about 40,000 people that are registered on the RedVsBlue forums on the website. And if you give them a week to guess stuff, eventually they will guess everything. So we can't go from episode to episode. So if we do a plot twist, it's got to start in an episode and end in an episode.
In a lot of ways, we have way more plot twists and kind of weird story turns than a normal hour and a half, movie or TV presentation, whatever it would have. But it's because we release these shows every week, and people have time to think about them and figure out what's going to happen next week. Whereas if you just go see a movie, you're just kind of following along the story for an hour and a half. By the time you're done with it, it's all been presented to you, and it's over.
We actually had a guy that said on the forum right before this came out, he said, what if there was a conversation that was overheard and the big
Vic,
guy turned out to
yeah.
be both Red Command and Blue Command?
The forum, our website forum, is basically for us like a room full of monkeys with typewriters. Just every conceivable idea they come up, that could possibly come up with, they're gonna eventually write a Shakespearean, soliloquy or something.
Oh, so you're using the old reference of a million monkeys and a million typewriters will eventually write Shakespeare?
Exactly.
I thought you were just calling them monkeys.
I don't think it's quite a million. I think it's 50,000.
No. It's an old expression. It's an old American expression? You might not be familiar with it yet.
I like how no one's actually shooting. Everyone's just making the noises. And Sarge with the shotgun is making machine gun noises there.
And then he runs out of machine gun bullets.
Imaginary machine gun bullets.
From a shotgun.
From a shotgun.
Here comes Sarge's funniest line ever. Sarge has a boner for lots of stuff, we realized.
Well, that's the first time he says he'd get a boner. I think in the PSA with the tattoos, Church says he'd get the boner for a tattoo on his forehead.
Yeah.
I said of a tattoo of an M16 on your forehead, that would really give Sarge a boner. And someone goes, hey, I got the tattoo that would give Sarge a boner. And he sent me a tattoo of an F-14, a plane on his head. I thought, are we that hard to understand? He's like, I have no idea what an M16 is.
Of course, we kind of skipped over this here, but the big reveal of Doc/O'Malley to everyone in Blood Gulch, all the Red and Blue team members, and Tucker's big explosion where he gets blown sky high.
Oh, and someone just died in the background there, right behind Griff.
That line that just passed for Lopez, which is Sheila, stop them, was a big bone of contention between Gus and I, because I wanted to say altolos, which basically means tall them, but
Well, which basically doesn't make sense.
which alto is on stop sign, so I think alto means stop. And what is it?
It would be paralos.
Paralos, and I said
Or
altolos.
paralos. In little fact, in Puerto Rico, the word pare is on stop signs, not alto. In your face.
We hope you've learned a little bit about Puerto Rican stop signs and a lot about yourselves. I said that I love Matt's version of O'Malley. It's really funny to me. It's like a cross between Stewie and Stewie from the Family Guy and
Dr. Evil.
Gollum and Dr. Evil and everything else.
But still distinct enough to be our own intellectual property creation.
And yet not like them at all. It's really similar to a lot of public domain characters that are evil and funny.
Someone explain what just happened here? That evil guy in the scooter shot one of our guys and then ran off with Lopez.
We need Lopez for very specific reasons. That we
Here's another scene that was cut down. It's great. It was a very funny scene in its original form, but it was just too long, where all these characters have their own interpretation of what irony actually is. I think after it gets back to Caboose and has this, I think irony is when everyone's made of iron joke.
Or ick.
Or
We
ick.
cut
We
that.
cut that. And then there was another thing where Griff had wasn't it Griff that came up with it?
Well, what it was, after 2 hours, they finally settled.
decide on what the ironic statement.
Yeah.
What the most ironic thing ever would be.
It said, while our situation is not as ironic as, say, what was it? A shark
who
that learns to surf to impress his friends, but he fools his friends so well they think he's a surfer and they eat him, his shark friends. While that would be the most ironic thing ever, this is fairly ironic that we have to work together.
For some reason, that didn't make the deleted scenes.
And there in the background, you can see we got the tank up on top of the base. We were pretty divided on whether or not to try doing that when we were filming that
By
night.
divided, we mean that Jeff ran out immediately as soon as we said, we'd like to get the tank on top of the base.
I was on Jeff's side. I really thought it was going to take a long time.
It was like
truck was
3 in the
already
morning, and we'd been filming for like 12 hours, and it didn't seem like something we'd be able to do very quickly in our states.
Yeah, and
but
in
we got a
reality,
second take.
It took
We did.
it took
was
about
very easy.
10 minutes of setup. It was and just
Yeah.
experimenting. We found a pretty easy way.
I was proven wrong.
Well, we actually discovered that by accident in Season 1 when Sheila dies from the bombing run. And it's real simple to flip the tank. You just get even just 2 people to fire rockets directly down on top of the tank, on that grill. If you shoot from above, it just flips it right over.
I wonder if I should have told the guys that thing I heard O'Malley.
So we had 4 people do it for that shot, and it flew up on the base.
Hi.
Stop staring at my tread, buddy.
And we, of course, as we go to the other levels, we can't bring the vehicles with us. We had to, when we go to like anything but Sidewinder, because we use just the Xbox version of Halo, we don't use the PC version. There's no other levels that allow the vehicles, so we had to, of course, leave Sheila there, and Doc, you'll see, had to leave his ghost. So as soon as we introduced the ghost to the storyline, we had to then turn around and immediately abandon the ghost, unless O'Malley finds his way to Sidewinder.
Finds one over there.
Admit that, that shot of them in the water after like the dryness of Blood Gulch
It's
is
so refreshing.
it is. It's weird. It's just like, it's super refreshing. And here's of course the last shot of Season 2. Church is back on Sidewinder, and people
With a new buddy.
with a new buddy, Griff.
Ow! Oh, come on.
Yay! It's over.
Apparently,
What the hell is that?
Gus just regressed to the age of 6.
I've been watching videos with Jack a little too much.
I guess so. My son Jack sometimes will interrupt us while we're doing voices and things like that. Well, that has been Red vs. Blue Season 2. We hope you all enjoyed it. We're really looking forward to Season 3. Got a lot of stuff planned. Obviously, we've got a pretty wide open canvas at this
We're
point.
looking forward to sleeping, I hope, between Season 2 and Season 3 for at least a couple hours.
There's security, Jack Burns. Excellent security. He handles all the doors. The song you're listening to right now, Steady Ride by Nico, I think was written and recorded in the span of a week.
I think it might have been a little under that. I think I talked to him and he said they started working on it on a Thursday. They wrote the lyrics out and they laid down the tracks over the weekend and had it ready by Sunday.
Only way we can know for sure is to count the cigarette butts. So we'll have to do that at some point. But we asked him for an upbeat song for the end credits, and he whipped one out really fast.
You can visit his website right there.
And there it is.
And of course, we had to stick our credit for Lopez's song in there as well. Recorded at Armario Studio. How do you say that? Armario Studios, which is Closet Studios. Oh,
Yeah, where did you get that translation?
from Battlefish, like everything else. And of course, our thank you list here. First few people are all employees of Bungie. Got the guys from the Bare Naked Ladies who asked us to make some videos about halfway through the season. Some people who have shown the movie all over the place, including IMAX Theater and the Lincoln Center. Tycho and Gabe from Penny Arcade. And then we gave Pork Fry his own personal line of the thank you, just because we had a good time with him out of E3 this year. And then we thanked our mods from the forum.
Salt Lake Barbecue.
Yeah.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget them. Then the magazines we appeared in, and some of the people, wives, girlfriends, those types of things. And of course, as always, have to thank Bungie.
Everyone at Bungie.
People that make this all possible.
Yay!
Making the greatest game in the entire world. Still the most beautiful game out there after 3 friggin' years. Who would have thought about it? And that is Season 1 or Season 2. Come back for Season 3.
Thanks, everybody.
Please.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Hey, dude. Hate to interrupt all the reading and listen to the rockin' music, but, movie's over, dude. That's pretty much it. Not much else gonna happen now. So just, turn it off. Go, enjoy the rest of your day. Now is the time for all good children to cross over. Go into the light, Carol Ann. Thank you very much.